everyone. This is Lubna,
This is Hawa.
and you are listening to Unscripted with Lubna and Hawa. Hawa, what is friendship?
Lubna. Friendship to me, well, when I was doing research for this episode, I had shared with you over the weekend that I wanted to know what the greats thought about friendship. I've never really studied philosophy. That's more of a recent sort of thing the last couple of years in my life. Never did it when I was in college or high school or anything like that. But I was really curious to know what the ancient teachers or the philosophers of the past, how they viewed friendship. And for whatever reason, I was thinking Plato. I think I was reading one of these like spiritual woo-woo books that I often read, as you know, but they often mention Socrates, Plato, and all these other sort of things because, you know, why not? And so I decided, I was like, let me see what Plato has to say about friendship. Or I don't even think it wasn't Plato. I was like, let me just think of like ancient Greek philosophers and what they thought of friendship. I was just really curious about if that was something that they ever debated, which 100% they did. And so I came across
Surprise.
yeah, surprise, surprise. So I came across Plato's Lysis, which is a dialogue in which he is writing as if he's Socrates, or it's from the perspective of Socrates, who has these two young pupils. One is named Lysis, and the other one is Menexus, I think is his name. And they're just two young boys that he is wanting to talk about the meaning of friendship. What is friendship? How do you define friendship? Can an enemy be a friend? Like they go really into it, and there's no answers at the end of it. I decided to do an audiobook. So I just listened to it, and then I read it later in the weekend, and it was really interesting. There's like 300 questions, and anytime they say this is what it is, Socrates questions them again. It's a dialectic, right? So they're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? And at the end of it, there's no real answer.
Interesting. Yeah.
There's one part of it that really touched me that I wanted to share with you for this episode.
Oh, please do.
So let me get it for you.
It's cool that you went that deep. I honestly, yeah, I'll talk a little bit about my thoughts. I went into very intuitive kind of space, but I love that you're bringing, Plato and Socrates. I mean, who can compete with that? So
Yeah, because I'm glad we're doing this episode because obviously you're my best friend, one of my closest friends in my life. And we talk a lot about that. What we've been through, the sort of experiences that we've had together separately. Everyone, you will see the level at which we've evolved, especially me, but it's going to get crazy, but it's going to get
tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Honest to God. Like it's been a trip.
It's better.
The best of trips. And so and friendship is something that's very important to me. It's something that's been a huge part of my life. I think beyond a lot of other relationships that I've had, it's something that's just this continuity and something I'm always seeking and is coming to me, and it's very important. But I've never looked at it from a philosophical perspective, so I was just curious. I think it's great that you're going to bring in the intuitive perspective, and then for me, and I will bring that in as well, but I also just wanted to know what is friendship, because we've talked about this, right, Lubna? Like, we do not get to decide the family we're born into. We don't have that choice, right? But we do get to decide the people we interact with in our lives, right? Which is very powerful and an exciting part of life. But then there's also the negative, which we'll go into too, which sometimes friendships, especially in the American context, can be, I don't want to say that, I shouldn't say in the American context, but like friendships can sometimes be really shallow, which he kind of mentions in the dialogue. He kind of says, what if one person, can a friend be someone that you love more than they love you? And can it be an enemy? Can it be someone that is bad, right? And again, they go back and forth, and ultimately there's no answer, as I shared earlier, but there's this one part of it that just really, I think, kind of is my own, I wouldn't say definition of friendship, but is how I certainly feel. It is like a huge sentiment for myself and a very huge feeling that I have when it comes to friendship. So Socrates says to Menexus, he says, hold on, let me get it. All people have their fancies. Some desire horses and other dogs, and some are fond of gold and others of honor. Now, I have no violent desire of any of these things, but I have a passion for friends. I would rather have a good friend than the best cock or quail in the world. I would even go further and say the best horse or dog. Yeah, by the dog of Egypt, I would greatly prefer a real friend to all the gold of Darius or even to Darius himself. I am such a lover of friends as that. And when I see you and Lysis at your early age so easily possessed of this treasure, and so soon he of you, and you of him, I am amazed and delighted, seeing that I myself, although I am now advanced in years, am so far from having made similar an acquisition that I do not even know in what way a friend is acquired. So I found
Yeah,
that
why did that resonate with you?
because that's how I feel about friendship. I just think it's so when you find that person, Lubna, like when I found you,
Oh,
you know, the few other friends that I have in my social circle, it's such a beautiful soul connecting experience, right?
correct. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is something deeply, it's not a materialistic thing. There's no, you can't kind of put a science to it. There's no sort of formula. It's
Mm.
not something you can really explain. It's unique to every person. But for me, I've always felt, wow, how have I connected so deeply to this person on an emotional, spiritual, intellectual, all of these value systems that I have, but then I also can laugh with them, right? But they share my values or all these different things. And it's like there's just something very, I don't know, just deeply spiritual, profound, almost divine to me. And I also think for me, friendship, again, like I find friendship very, very, very important and very sacred for
Yeah,
me.
interesting that you would use that term like connection. I thought of bond, which is
Yeah,
also similar. And I
right.
was thinking from the intuition or intuitive space, I guess, or just also philosophical, but my own. I thought of it as bond of understanding between, again, people we choose. The
Yeah,
choice is very empowering. There's
yeah,
agency, there is which makes the bond even more valuable as opposed to a family bond.
yeah, for sure.
That's at least how I feel about it. And then very necessary sort of conditions that come with it, I feel like to feel seen, to feel safe. Um, the being seen as is very important, the visibility,
Yeah,
um, and not feeling that we all perform one way or another. We wear different masks during the day, right? We have jobs, we have different roles in society, but a true friend, a relationship that I would elevate to friendship has that element of authentic visibility of something similar, the element of similarity,
yeah.
that there must be something similar. And for me at least, and I wonder, like I'm posing this question, do you think that being similar is necessary to build good friendship? Some similarity.
Yeah.
Could people that are very different be good friends? Because I started thinking about that. I'm like, I'm not sure I can work with that. And I don't know if we're going to enter into the space of, as we talk about this, about spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Is it someone who's more spiritually grown and elevated is able to build these bonds with people who are very different? So it's kind of a function of where you are on the spiritual spectrum, or is it just human nature that we want to see ourselves in our friends, and that would allow us to share and be seen and stop performing because we feel safe in their presence?
Um, I do think it's critical to have some basis of similarity, to have
Mm.
a genuine friendship, right? That's another thing. I guess I think you and I have very similar, obviously, ideas of friendship, but for me, to have a genuine, authentic, sincere, where I feel seen and I can be open and I feel safe, like you said, you need to have some, for me, you have to have some basis of similarity. Um, it, you can respect the differences. I think the differences are totally feasible and possible. And I've been there, I've had friendships with people. And sometimes it's nice because they believe something that you, or they have a value of something that you completely disagree with. And as time goes on, if the majority of you, I think the majority of it has to be some, you have to share similar stuff. And if you kind of deviate from one or two things, it's okay. But I think it cannot be the basis. Just like I would say maybe like a personal relationship, a romantic relationship that can be very difficult. What's the point at a certain point?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think for me, I think it depends. Like for me, I think if you're a deeply open-minded, very curious person, even if I disagree with you, I can be friends with you.
Mm.
If there's no judgment and you're genuinely just so you are a true intellectual in that way, right? Like because I'm thinking back, like I have friends that don't believe in God. I have friends that are of a different religious or spiritual background than I do, right? And maybe we don't talk about those things,
Mm.
but I feel that the relationships I have with people that I consider friends, if I can talk about all these things, it creates some evolution for me. Also,
Mm.
in that friend, sometimes it can. Sometimes when there are slight differences, the friendship can evolve into something even better.
Think you say that.
I
Okay,
don't.
you know
Yeah,
why? Because you said we feel safe. And
yeah, we've talked about this. Like safety is very important to me in a friendship.
but the interesting part for me is that we had strong opinions about things.
Mm,
And you had strong opinions about certain worldviews at some point, about,
yeah,
like identity kind of labels. Same for me.
yeah,
Nevertheless, even if we didn't fully agree on those, I was able to feel safe in your presence. Although
yeah,
there are other people who have equally strong views that I would not have felt safe. And I wonder if it's not about having strong views about the world that are differing from mine. It's about me trusting that this person can hold a space of tolerance, understanding,
yeah,
and growth to hear me. So back to your point, the differences are okay
yeah.
as long as there is the space for evolution,
Exactly,
allowing.
100%. I agree with that. Yeah, because I think about the friendships that I don't have anymore, right? That were very close, very important to me. And I was evolving in a different direction and they were evolving in a different direction. Because I don't want to look back at those past relationships as if I was right and they were wrong, right? I don't want to be smug or arrogant in any way. I just think I was moving away from sort of, for example, being very politically focused all the time in an extreme way, which was very much, you are very familiar with that. Love that you're still friends with me despite all that craziness. Because it's funny what you said about like
Moments. We had our
I've always
moments.
felt that like we both mutually created a space for us to, still be different in terms of our thoughts or feelings. But I was so crazy, Lubna. Like you really loved me because I wasn't crazy, but I was extremely opinionated, and
That's what I
like
was referring to.
extremely, and I always will be opinionated. That's not going to change. But I feel like in the past I was aggressively opinionated.
I
Lubna.
was willing, what I admired in you, you were on a quest. You
Yeah.
kept on saying
You
you
say that.
wanted the truth. And I admired that. I'm like, this woman is on a quest. Like, so that's very different because a quest suggests that you are willing to evolve and change and accept new data, new information. It's not that you were holding these beliefs because that's it. It
Yeah.
didn't come across like that. I know people who were very opinionated, but they were rigid about it. You were not rigid.
Okay.
You were very flexible. And I think that's the difference for me that I felt, okay, this is someone that I admire that you are asking questions. A lot of people don't even care how well,
Yeah.
like, but it's cool that you brought this up because that was the next point that I thought, it would be nice to talk about, which is when did we realize that a friendship was no longer aligned with who we were becoming? And it's the idea of letting go, the evolution of friendships,
Yeah.
how the expectations change with time and maybe with experiences in our lives. And how do we let go? Is there a correct way? So some thoughts around that. I don't know if you have any thoughts. I'm happy also to jump in, but
You
you
jump in. I want to hear how you answer first.
I thought about it as a very non-dramatic moment when you realize that it's very subtle discomfort almost being in someone's presence.
Yeah.
You feel that, yeah, we're distant. But you look at the person and you realize this person is a memory. They're
Mm.
no longer part of my living present. And I cherish them. There is love for that old friendship. There is grief as well.
Hmm. Yeah, they always talk, over the years, I've heard people talk about, it's totally socially acceptable to break up with a partner or a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but it's not. Why is there no sort of rules or etiquette around ending a friendship?
Mhm.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and I don't,
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah,
Great
people
point.
think about
Never
that.
thought
And I
about it.
think,
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. I think a friendship, it would be so weird to me if I felt a friendship. Yeah, first of all, to your point, your friends from Qatar. I mean, I have friends in the States. I'm born and raised here, or that I think they are in your life for a period of time for a reason. And it just dies out. I think friendships can naturally die out, or not die out, but you were friends because you were in a certain environment, in a certain context, in a certain time and place, and you needed each other. But I would argue, were those friendships that deep to begin with for it to eventually fade away in that way?
Okay, I answer your question with a question.
Okay. Oh, okay, Miss
All
Plato, Miss
okay.
Socrates.
You asked whether these friendships are actually friendships. And
Yeah.
my question is, are there tiers in friendship? How do we do back to, I guess we're going back to the first question, which is what is a friendship?
Yeah.
Does it necessary or does it necessarily require that um, we feel safe, that emotional safety, the role of vulnerability, how honest we can be with this person, how emotionally attuned that person to our needs. Are these all requirements? Or as some of these are ticked off, then that person's higher in the friendship tier, but they're still friends and they're still, so I guess, and you just talked about this a bit. Um, I wonder also if some people are more flexible. I don't want to cast any, judgment while describing this, but like in a sense, some people, as you mentioned, they're just into deep friendships. I want someone who can meet all of these needs when they're my friends versus someone who's like, who has people who can pretty much meet just one of those needs, which is when I'm having a bad day, I need to speak with someone and I want to make sure that this person can be present for me. And that's about it. Not more than that, not the intellectual depth, not the growth together, not the exploration of different things in life.
Mhm.
I don't know if this makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, so it's just circling back to what we just talked about. I'm wondering whether tiering friendship is is the norm. Is this what how it's supposed to look like? Different tiers, different levels, or is this just us as adults trying to adapt to our reality that friendships now come with interests and needs and costs, unlike childhood friendships? Now you have transactional friendships. You have one-off relationships that so it's a very different playground we play in now as adults versus our childhood friendships. And I'm wondering whether tiering friends is just our way to adapt to a world that is very demanding on our needs and our time. And that's one way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah, I struggle with this because I do think it is sort of the evolution of friendships now that we live in this world where we have to adapt. So there is a tier system. People do, at least in the context of the United States, I think it is very normal to have a tier system when it comes to friends. And I've always struggled with that. I don't know. I I cannot do that. I cannot have
I
superficial
know, yeah,
conversations. I can do it. I will not entertain superficial conversations. I can't do it. I don't have a poker face. You've said this. We've talked about this.
yes,
My mom said, Hawa, when you are not interested in what someone is saying, you
you
do.
shut
I,
down.
I
She's
shut
so
down.
shut down.
I'm like falling asleep a little bit. That's how I knew you were like family to me because I'm like, oh my God, Lubna sees this like my mom does or my sister. I was like, no,
It was so
I can
funny
be
to
very
see you.
nice. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not like a scumbag about it. I'm not like rude or mean or malicious.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, my eyes kind of go, I'm like, I just get tired. I immediately get exhausted. It's just like I cannot because to me it's for me I need to get in deep. It's just for me a friendship because I think life is I don't want to say life is a game in a manipulative way, but we're here and life is a journey. It's I don't know why I'm here in this time of all times in life and you entered it and we connected like that, right?
Right. Yeah.
There are a few other people in my life where I'm just like, it's a soul for me. I don't know how else to explain it because there's no other way of explaining it. Like I said earlier, there's no system, there's no methodology you could use. It's obviously you can be like, well, you grew up in this community, you went to these schools. Yeah, like you could do all that, but still you could be in those places and have no friends. I've been in those spaces and I haven't met as many quality people as I would like. I shouldn't say quality, that's a judgment, but I haven't met people that I connected to or resonated with, right? There are people in other countries that I've had deeper ties to, or, people who've come from different backgrounds than me that I've connected with on a deep level that don't look like me, that don't believe in what I believe in terms of like how we grew up.
Yeah.
I do think there's a tier system on a personal level. I don't subscribe to that. I've tried it. It's not my cup of tea. It's kind of like the Plato piece that I was talking about. I mean, he is not talking about a philosophical ideas around friendship in a tier system. He's saying like on a deeply profound level, and he speaks like that sort of quote that I gave you earlier of how he admires these two young men who really just have this deep affinity and love for one another, right? And that it's almost more profound than having gold and wealth, which I agree with. Like on a deep level for me, the relationship I have with you and a few other people in my life outside of my family is worth more than gold. It really is like, it is no, really, it's just, I think when you're a deeply curious person, like you said about me, someone who seeks knowledge, like when I find someone else who's just as curious, right? Or who likes what I like, and I'm sure other people who care about other things feel that way. That's a profoundly like deep experience. It's a huge life thing for me. You know what I'm saying? So to tear it up is also not kind to those people. Like it's not kind to like have people in your life you tear up. That's not nice. I'm not doing that in my personal life. Not at this age. For me, friendship is it's what I said earlier. It's incredibly sacred. It's very, very sacred because when you go in deep, people are telling me things about their life. I'm going to tell things about my life. There's safety. Like that goes back to safety, like sacred, safe. So how can why would I, if those all are things that are important to me in a friendship, it's not possible for me to bucket people into like tier one.
I would love to talk about the friendships that expired. How do we let go? The etiquette around expired friendships. How do we let go of people so lovingly or not, and creating boundaries around that. But before I jump into that, I have a question. So does it mean, like when I'm hearing you, what friendship means to you and the way we talked about it, both of us today, does it mean that it's impossible to feel lonely in the presence of a friend? Is this a true statement?
At my point in my life, it is impossible.
Correct. I agree with you. Completely. And maybe that's the test for people like us with our interest in deep conversations, interest in the soul searching, soul growth. I recognize there are people out there that have different needs. They don't want that in their friends. I can think of two people actually, some of which are family members that actually resent, any conversation that looks like what we're having right now.
Yeah.
It's too much work. Life is not about that for them. It's about, enjoying physical, materialistic, I'm not saying in a negative way, but like actually physical experiences in life, going out, drinking, eating. So this mental connection, and I would argue also more soul connection, they don't want to entertain it.
Yeah, and I also think like it doesn't, you and I, Lubna, we're very intellectual. You're right, but I think this is an experience, especially with women and men too. I think, but women in particular, where it doesn't even have to be deeply intellectual or spiritual. They just have some connection with one another, and they can just talk about anything. It could be reality TV shows. That's not us. It could be anything. And, and I have that dynamic with some people. Like I think for me, it's still. and this is what Plato says, I think, in like in Lysis, like, sorry, just keep referencing it because it's such a good piece, because it also talks about not there's no reference to tears, obviously, but it's very much going into like, what is a friend, as I was saying earlier, good or bad. And ultimately he decides that like a friend, he doesn't decide anything, but it's kind of alluded that like a friend is someone who is good like you know, likes like someone who is good but could be good, is neither good nor bad, almost like a neutral person, which is interesting. I wouldn't want that type of dynamic. That's not something I could do. But ultimately, like in my reading of it too, the dialogue basically sort of, I felt he was also saying that you connect with a friend, you meet someone who's almost, I don't want to say at your level, but when you see yourself in the other, you see self in someone else. That's
So,
how.
so is friendship an exercise of egoism and self?
Oh, I think sometimes I don't see it that way. I think right, because that's a good question, right? Because it goes back to
Yeah.
similarity. If I'm saying the foundation is similarity, that's sameness essentially.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's not egoism. It still goes back to just what, okay, this is me being like a spiritual woo girl, but like when I meet people that I connect with on such a deep level, I feel like I'm like, it's a divine experience. It's like a God, like there's just some sort of like, it makes me feel so powerful and so happy that I met this other person in this world full of billions of people. Why you, Lubna? Why me? And we just are so profoundly connected. I don't think it's in, oh, I met myself in Lubna. Like I never think of it that way.
Yeah, I don't think of
No,
it.
no, of course not. I don't think, oh, I see X person and I found me. It's more just like, wow, I feel, like we said, safe. I feel understood. I feel that I can learn. For me, it's important that I learn from my friends, right? Going back to my, right, who am I? As you know, if you know me, you know that I'm a deeply curious person who's always seeking truth, right? So when I see you, I'm able to get that. You give me truth. You know, all my friends have given me some element of that. That's a part of who I am. And so I think that's what I get out of my friendships. But I don't think that's me being egotistical. It's in my quest, you know, you have helped me in that quest.
I see. This authenticity, truth.
Yeah, I don't think it's egoism. I don't, because yeah, I would never think like, we're not narcissists, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not a narcissistic endeavor. It's more just like in this world, it's so lonely. Well, life is a lonely journey. It doesn't, and not, I shouldn't say lonely. You are alone in life, ultimately. You
Right.
can have a husband, a wife, children, family, only you, whatever.
Mm.
For whatever reason, like there is something deeply profound to me of like, you are in my life, or the other few friends that I have chosen and they've chosen me. And it makes life less lonely. You know, I don't even know if I'm making sense. It's just like,
No, that's yeah, I think
it's just, and I see what you mean. Like, and sometimes in the tier system, there's comfort. You do get a certain comfort when you have certain people in your life. You're still like, why is this person still in my life? But they are a friend. They're not a close friend, but they're, maybe that, I think that's egoism, is when you have friends that you don't really like, or friends you don't really connect with, but you keep them around. Is that might be more egotistical? What do you think?
I think as we're talking today, I'm struggling with the term friend. I mean, I know I started off saying, oh, this is what it is, a bond, trust, this and that.
Yeah.
But because I'm also thinking not everyone can give all of this. So does it mean, and I'm not saying like being friends with people's charity work, you just go around and be like, oh, poor you can't give me that, but I'll settle for this, hence you are tier 2 friend. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's just that I still learn something,
Yeah.
still connect on something, but is it this like meaningful, deep friendship that we described for the past hour and a half? Absolutely not. Is that good enough of a reason for me to let them go? That they're not giving me that deep, reflective, meaningful friendship?
But are they giving you something else? Is there something else that they're giving you that you feel fulfilled in, or that you do feel good about? It might not be that deep friendship. It can just be,
True. Yeah, which is like learning about things like together. it's not on that level.
What is that?
I seem so unconvincing with that.
Yeah,
Like
you like, I was like, what does that mean? That's me
something.
being judgmental. See, I'm failing already. Every goddamn year, I'm like, don't judge how, and I'm just like, shit, I'm judging. Like, what does that mean? You
I
know,
don't know
I
what it
learn things
means.
from them. What
I
does
think
that mean?
so. What do you call these people in your life? There
They're
are
not in
these
my
people.
life. They're not in my life. Did you not just listen to me? It's like you're in or you're out.
They're
You're
out,
in or
out.
you're out. Like you're my best friend for
Toot,
life.
toot, toot, toot.
Like, you know what I mean? And I would do
Yeah.
anything for you, or you're just somebody I met a couple times and we just shoot the shit, as they say, and that's it, you know? And if I really like you, it's hard. And especially if I really like you,
Hmm.
I don't want to just be like fake. I want to know everything about you, you know? And we should probably talk about, yeah, this sort of idea of how do you appropriately end a friendship. And I just think with women, especially, you can't. It's just really cruel. It's like
Oh,
very
you said
hard.
you can't.
I don't think you can. I think it's hard. I think it's a devastating. If you called me, Lubna, and said, "Hey, Hawa, like, I just want you to know, like, it's been a great run. Like, I've been like, and
Oh
and I'm so grateful to you, but like,
my
we're
God.
done." I would be devastated. You know,
Oh,
I would rather just you ghost me. This is the only time I'm okay with ghosting is with, and which is interesting. Why in friendships, as someone who values friendship so much, right? I'm telling you how I don't have a tier system. You're either in or you're out. But I also have this idea of like when you're in, you're never leaving. Like you're never going anywhere.
Hotel California,
Like
Hawa style.
jobs, whatever. You can go like at your leisure. Could give a shit. But
Yeah.
like if you're here, like you're like family. Because for me, family and friendships are very intertwined, Lubna. You know this. Like to me, you're family. Like
Yeah.
it's just there are a few people, and then they know who they are. Like they know, like, oh, they're in. Like they're in the club. They've been accepted and
We're
they're
gonna add
not
the
going
link how
anywhere.
people can sign up
Yeah,
for the
right.
club, for the
Like it's
Hawa Club.
very, very VIP. It's very, very VIP. And you're stuck, you know? And especially at this point in my life. So anyway,
Yeah.
to go back to what I was saying is like, I just don't think I could end a friendship. It's not, I'd rather you just ghost me or it dies out. Cause I think if it ends, it's natural. There's a sort of naturalness that comes from friendships. If you're not really reaching out, they're not really reaching out. It's different.
Moment of truth, I guess. And
Oh
it's
God, what
being
do you have to
recorded.
tell me, Lubna?
Being recorded. No, but like actually moment of truth, right? When you were younger, we were younger, we're in New York, and you said that you were opinionated. You had very strong opinions, especially about around gender.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I remember around that time, I was like going through my own stuff as well, very complicated visa situation and a work situation and life situation. So I felt like I didn't have the emotional bandwidth sometimes to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And but I'd never talked to you about not having those conversations.
We
I
weren't that
just
close, though. We weren't
we
that
weren't,
close.
we weren't. That's true.
Like,
That's
and
true.
and I think I lacked complete self-awareness about I just was so extreme in my feelings at that time when you met me that we weren't that close. And I feel
We
like
weren't that close.
I wouldn't have cared. I would have been like, whatever, bye, bitch. Like, I was
Yeah,
that like,
yeah.
like really, I would have been
I can
like,
see
I
that
would have been like,
happening.
well, she's just like thinks men are amazing. She worships men, you know what I mean? She's like a dumb bitch. Like, I would have like, I was crazy. I was extreme. Like, I had a Facebook group that I was like of a bunch of girls bitching and moaning about. I was insane because I was bored at my job and I had nothing better to do with my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I do think if I was like that now, I would hope you would be like, Hawa, are you okay? Like, and I would listen to you.
Do you think it's because we are closer now or because we're older?
I think Lubna, I don't know. Sometimes I go back and forth like that, but like I don't think I just stopped with my extreme views. I think I'm always going to be a very opinionated, passionate person, but I'm a lot more calm or open-minded.
Mm-mm.
And maybe
Oh,
that is with age. I do think
age.
I think it's age, but I think in, as you said, that quest that I'm on, I've sort of opened up my mind in a way that has made me less crazy and critical and annoying. I was just like an annoying. So maybe you're right. It is age. I just grew up, but I don't know. I know people in my life who have these ideas still. They're not as extreme, but I couldn't talk to them about the things that you and I have talked about that are such a deviation from what I used to believe in, which isn't like conservative per se. It's just more, I don't know. I go back. I think I like to think I got smarter. Like I saw the light. Like it was a part of my own evolution. I had to go through those experiences
Yeah.
to get to where I am now because
Yeah.
nothing's really changed in who I am as being like a deeply curious person who's
And I
constantly.
feel like we can talk about this one day about like what the milestones in our journeys looked like and why I think even it would matter to anyone who's listening because sometimes we don't realize how important these milestones are
Yeah.
until much later in life. And they seem so, it seems sometimes like you hit rock bottom, at least in my case. And then when you look back, you're like, okay, that was a very important moment in my life.
So yeah, like I was saying earlier, I just think I the friendship between you and I also will say I think that yeah, you were going through a lot and I was a lot. So which is true. Not ashamed. It was all a part of the life journey of mine.
The
So no,
journey. It's all about the journey.
it's all about the journey, as I say. So
Yeah.
I think, for me, what is interesting about our friendship is that I also felt that in some ways I kind of also let you lead. I don't know what it
Mm.
was because it's just interesting how like we're like this, you are very important to me. And
But we're not on each other's faces. Sorry for
no,
interrupting.
we're not. But it's because, but Lubna, I swear to God, the reason why we have a healthy, normal friendship is because of you. In this, like now, like because I'm like going back about the fact I used to be a people pleaser. I would just like let people like do whatever, talk, take, and I was always like, oh, I don't want to say this. Very similar to you, avoiding conflict, didn't want to cause problems, like being needed. There is a selfishness to it. You want to talk about ego? That was very ego. That was
Yeah.
that was feeding something in me, like people like to think empathetic people are these innocent, compassionate beings, but like you feed your ego when you have all these people like needing you and stuff like that. And it's like, and
Absolutely.
I think that was me.
Absolutely.
That was old me, 100%. I did not have healthy, and I take responsibility because I think it's easy to judge them, and I'm not interested in that. As we talk throughout this episode, is I just no judgment. I just want
Mm.
to evolve and take ownership of my dynamic in this. And in those friendships, like, yeah, I was bad with boundaries, but I think with you were very good at, I let you lead. I kind of let every friendship lead, good or bad. And I think in your case, it was great because, you were very busy in New York and I really respected you and really liked you, that subconsciously, I think, even though before I was saying like, oh, I'd be like, oh, fuck you, bitch. That was like in the beginning when I didn't really know you. But as we were getting
Yeah.
to know each other that year, I really liked you and respected you. And I was like, wow, she's so smart. Like that was the whole thing with you that I loved.
Oh, that's very
And
sweet.
wonderful. But I was like,
How?
oh, she's so smart. And we were similar. Maybe there was egoism. Like maybe it is egotistic because I was like, oh my God, it's me. She's just as like smart about this stuff. But I just really admired you and I respected you a lot. And I knew like I was very like she can reach out to me whenever. Because I think in the beginning of our friendship, I kind of let you reach out.
Yeah,
Like,
now thinking
not
about it, I
not because
definitely
I didn't, I just really respected you. And I was like, I'm not going to bug her. She's like a real adult. Like she's like a worldly woman.
feel about.
Like I'm just going to like give her some space. She can hit me up and I'd be ready like that. But, and even in our friendship, like when I was living in Puerto Rico, like for me, I always respected your boundaries, like even if it wasn't out there, I just kind of picked up on it intuitively. And I was like,
Well,
I
yes,
don't know if
that's
you feel
what I
that way. And it worked. Like for us, it did
absolutely.
work. And I always trusted you. I knew that you loved me and I love you. And that like, if I needed you and every time we met, it was like, we would talk for hours like we're doing now. Like,
Yeah.
so it just it fulfilled something in me. And I was just like, okay, like, so that's why I think it worked for us. Like, to be honest with
Yeah, on
you,
that note, because
it was
like
you. I was like, oh, she has to be the adult of the two of us. She has to be the normal one. I'm like, but that is me. Like, I'm just gonna give you like, you
I
let me.
actually now thinking about it, I do remember you being so respectful of my space. I think,
Yeah.
and especially in New York, as I mean, throughout our friendship, but like there we were physically living in the same city. And now thinking about it, yeah, I remember like, because as you said, like I do have my moments where I disappear into my cave and then, reemerge.
Yeah.
And you were always there, always very gracious with your time, very generous with your presence. Like it's been consistent. You've been
Yeah.
consistent that way. And I think, yes, I mentioned that as we were talking earlier, about what stood out for me is your level of honesty. And that was very refreshing. You reminded me of, again, a childhood friend. Because there's something about children and their friendships where there are no blocks, there are no veils, and there's something about you interacting with your world. And even when you keep on saying you were crazy about shit, crazy, whatever, how you describe yourself, it's your words, but like describing yourself during that time, that was also very genuine. It looked like I was witnessing someone on a very honest, truthful journey with themselves. And that was very I felt special observing that because I saw you now over the years how you always honored the new truths that came your way. You've never been close-minded, rigid. Those are qualities in people I can't be friends with, to be honest. And I think all of that, seeing you moving through these transitions, what made me even more and more interested in getting to know you because I'm like, she's someone who's capable of holding different truths at the same time, putting them together, sort of struggling with them, coming out with a conclusion, and moving on with an sort of elevated version of herself.
Mm.
And that exercise, as nasty as it became for you and for myself, because I've done that as well. I
Yeah.
feel like actually, if anything, I came later into that journey. You started earlier with, your focus back then was like more on gender stuff.
Yeah.
I I had my own journey. We can talk about that maybe some other episode. But all of this to say, um, yeah, I think the friendship was special as it evolved. There was that timeline that allowed us to get to know each other in very different settings and experiences in our lives that we saw different sides of who we are as opposed to the first impression, all of that. But to tie it back to, I guess, the conversation we were having about friendships ending,
Yeah.
and you talked about how you were protective of longevity and how I would say longevity is not equal to alignment, right? And we know
Yeah.
that from childhood friends that are no longer in our lives. But how do we navigate all of that? How do we navigate distance and misalignment versus hurt and betrayal and, active maliciousness, perhaps? And then how do we create boundaries around our lives where these people are no longer part of these lives? And how do we let go? There were a lot of things in what I just said, but I'm wondering like if any of those you feel you want to talk about or anything um
Yeah.
resonated with any of your experiences.
Yeah. I think in keeping with, a few friendships past their expiration date,
Hmm.
I I it ended up ending in really horrible ways. Like really one in particular that you're familiar with that was really devastating to me. And I do think that it did not have to go down the way that it did. I don't think friendships need to end in devastating ways. Um,
How can they end?
I don't like I honestly, Lubna, I don't know what the right answer is because I struggle with that. I think we live in a time where in the West, in America, where maybe in the circles that we run in, where it is normal for friendships to slowly die out, and sometimes they die out really abruptly. That's my experience is they either die out naturally, like you said, because of distance and sort of time and getting older. And then I've had a few that have just like actually like more than a few that have ended really abruptly in either really like sad, unfortunate ways or really devastating ways. And I'm trying to figure out, and I think that was old me, that wouldn't happen in the future. I've learned from those experiences. I would hope that all the people in my life now, if it would, I would prefer to be ghosted. That's my personal preference. Like, just go. If I keep reaching out and I don't hear from you, memo received. But I think I'm at a point in age in my life where I have everyone in my life that I want, and vice versa. I would hope. And I also do think I'm in a place where I could have a conversation about not it ending. That I don't want that. I can't say, I don't know what the answer is to that. I can only say from a personal perspective, I don't want to have a conversation. I just don't want to ever hear from you again. And I'll be sad, but I've memo received, because I think that would really break me. And I've had abrupt friendships, and that really hurt my heart. And I was very much responsible. I was immature, and I was not handling my and I think like I'm one of those people where, like, even if you are right, if your reaction is so poor, you're kind of, it's sort of a moot point. You just kind of have to be an adult and take responsibility for your emotions and how you react to things. So
Yeah.
I don't think, that's all I can say for me on a personal
Yeah.
level. Maybe an email is the great, like, send an email if you want to end it. And I don't think it's me being coward. I don't know if you feel this way. I don't think I'm being a coward. Maybe I am. I just think it would break me. Like it, like, but I also don't envision a world where any of my friendships would be so bad that we couldn't have a conversation.
Yeah.
You and I are not at that point in our life anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe it's a
everything I've
function of
frustrated, if
age.
I've had to put boundaries, I will have every girlfriend that I have, because the overwhelming majority of my close friendships are women, to be honest, is like, I can have a conversation with them, and they've had conversations with me, and it's been fine. And there are friendships like where they're no longer friends with me because I tried to have a conversation with them and they don't want to hear it. Like what you were saying earlier, where it's like they don't want to hear it. They are stuck. They haven't, and they're on their journey again. They're on their path and they don't want to hear it. And then they stop being friends with me. They're like, I don't want to be friends with Hawa anymore. She's just not. And I'm like, okay, don't be friends with me, but
yeah. So that's the answer, right? Yeah. Like their response to the initiative that you took to have that honest conversation. I mean, I asked you
the
question.
For you? I want to know what's the answer. How do you?
No, I don't know the answer. And I shared that I'm definitely conflict avoidant.
Yeah.
I have such aversion to conflict. Now I manage
You're a lawyer.
Hmm?
You're a lawyer. The irony.
The irony, exactly. I'll write you a memo. How about but yeah, like it's the examples I can think of in my life have been the distance. It's just like slowly, the distance happened more and more, and that's it. But people who I had very meaningful, deep friendships since my teens years are still in my life. And you've met those people. So they're not many, like I'm talking about very deep friendships. But that's it. And then anyone else that wasn't that close, and there are very, very few, but then anyone that wasn't that close, distance, and it just died out. Yeah, maybe because of, I don't know, it's a difficult question, honestly. And I love how you phrased it at the beginning. And you said that there is protocol or etiquette or around how we end a partnership in a marriage and in many different kinds of relationships, but friendships, where is the playbook?
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't get it.
It's so weird. It's just like, this
family.
lawless.
Like a lot of people talk now about how do you go no contact with family, or how do you communicate, and how, and then end it. Or there's all these sort of things. Work, right? If I want to quit my job tomorrow, I have to write an email, have a conversation with my boss, hey, like da 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 da. Like there are all these things when it comes to different relationships, but friendship. And the irony for me is friendship is so important to me, but I wouldn't know how to end it. But also, as I said, like, you're stuck, so you're not leaving anyway. So there's nothing, I don't need to do anything because you're not going anywhere, Lubna. None of my friends are going anywhere.
Oh,
So
fantastic. I feel so
that's my
special.
answer. It's like not me. My friends are stuck with me
Not
and
my problem. Not my problem.
not at this point in
Okay.
my life. Like you're in and you're staying in. You're in
I
jail.
love that. I love that. The golden cage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to share, I guess, the concluding kind of question or thoughts? Because I was thinking, we talked a lot about like what friendship means to us. I'm wondering, whoever is listening, are they thinking about what friendship means to them? Is it a tier system? Does it tend to be in one category versus the other? Are they doing it because they don't want to feel lonely? Is that what friendship is for them? How sacred, we use the word sacred a lot. How sacred is friendship in their lives? Can they think of a friend that they like to thank today, not for anything they did, but simply because of who they are, their presence in their lives? Um, those are some of my thoughts, honestly. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I would just I share your thoughts unsurprisingly. But yeah,
Okay.
I would love to hear people's. I'm curious to hear how people have ended. What is the
Mm,
protocol? I think you and I are struggling with that, so I'd be really curious to know how do people approach ending a friendship.
yeah,
Lubna and I can't. I
can't
won't. It's
clearly.
not a possibility. You're in it,
Nope.
as I said. But yeah, I would be really curious to hear how people, their suggestions or recommendations or their own experiences and how, I would love to hear that. I don't hear that anywhere. And I would love to know how people approach that. And then, yeah, I'm curious to know. I really just want to know how people define friendship, just as we've attempted to do in this episode, right? I
Yeah,
think for
yeah,
me and you, I especially for me and what I've shared with everyone today, it's family. Friendship equates family to me, and I have family members where it's family and nothing. They don't need friendship in the way that I
mm,
need friendship. They need family, right? And some people it's just their romantic partner. Some people it's just them. They don't need anyone. But I'd be curious to hear people's sort of definitions of friendships and if they hold as much value to friendship as you and I do.
yeah. Oh, this is beautiful. So until next time, I
Yes.
guess stay searching and stay unscripted.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye. And that's a wrap on this week's Unscripted Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to Unscripted with Lubna and Hawa wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. We'll be back with a brand new one next Wednesday. Until then, keep it unfiltered, unapologetic, and unscripted.